Welcome back to Braintree Today. I'm Martha Constantinides and you're watching BCAM TV. We'll be getting you right into our coronavirus updates for the week. Since no new medical breakthroughs have been made, Massachusetts is still moving forward with Phase 3 of the reopening plan. The state will continue to monitor health trends as Governor Charlie Baker releases updates to the public. Here's more from his press conference on October 20th.
The daily update: yesterday, the Department of Public Health reported 827 new positive cases. The 7-day average positivity rate is 1.2%, which is consistent with the last few weeks of reporting. But we've obviously seen an increase, which we expected and anticipated, in overall cases over the past couple of weeks.
The governor went on to discuss ICU numbers and hospitalizations in the Commonwealth and how they're planning for COVID-19 for the fall and winter.
Our hospital census remains roughly right around 500 patients, including 86 in the ICU. While there's been an increase in cases, our hospitals have the capacity to manage COVID-19 patients and others needing medical attention. And the Lieutenant Governor, the Secretary, and I continue to talk with the vast majority of the hospitals and the systems here in Massachusetts several times a week.
The state of Massachusetts tracks the severity of cases on a town-by-town map as we move forward with COVID-19, with most locations in the green or gray signifying low positive test rates. Baker went on to address a new initiative for citizens in the Commonwealth to keep up with COVID in their area.
We also encourage residents to sign up to receive alerts that are specific to their communities as part of the new Alerts MA system by visiting mass.gov/stopcovid19. Residents can choose to get alerts by text, email, or phone, and in their preferred language.
Governor Baker went on to address updates on the COVID-19 vaccine and who it will be available to first.
We're planning for different phases of distribution based on how many vaccines are available and when. In the early phase, we expect limited supply, and we plan to prioritize the following groups: healthcare personnel who are likely to be exposed or to treat people with COVID-19, people at increased risk of severe illness from COVID-19, including individuals with underlying medical conditions and those over the age of 65, and then other essential workers.
The governor held another press conference this week in Salem. On October 21st, Baker addressed Halloween plans and what to be aware of as we approach the holiday.
Indoor house parties, close contact, shared food, shared beverage, long periods of time with the same people, some of whom you know probably pretty well, but don't know where they've been or who they work with or where they've traveled, without masks or distancing, which in most cases will be the case, are just simply not a good idea.
For those who still wish to celebrate, trick-or-treating will be allowed and preferred for towns with better COVID-19 test rates in the past few weeks. For more information on rules and guidelines, you can visit mass.gov. Boston is also facing higher test rates as the city is currently designated as a high-risk community for coronavirus, with a citywide infection rate of 5.7%, an increase from their 4.5% rate just last week. Because of this, Boston Public Schools have decided against in-person learning. Last week, the district announced that the start of Phase 3 of in-person learning for students in pre-K through grade 3 would be delayed for 1 week. But due to rising positive test rates in the city, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh and Superintendent Brenda Casilius have decided it was too dangerous for kids to continue in person for the time being. If trends begin to move in a positive direction, students will be able to return part-time as long as the City of Boston sees better rates in the next 2 weeks. And on another note, the Boston School Committee Chairman, Michael Lecanto, has officially announced his resignation after comments he made on a recorded Zoom meeting where he mocked the names of speakers that were set to join the call. Mayor Marty Walsh accepted his resignation on Thursday, October 22nd. With hopes to keep moving forward in the fight against COVID-19, Governor Charlie Baker and Boston Mayor Marty Walsh will continue to update the public as more information is being released. Stay tuned for more on Braintree Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Braintree Today. While Massachusetts is still in Phase 3 of the reopening plan, the town of Braintree continues to release important updates and news regarding the virus. Since last week, Braintree Town Hall has reported 35 new cases, bringing the total number of positive cases in the town up to 1,123. The town hasn't reported any new fatalities in over 2 months, which has kept the death toll in Braintree at 120. Town-by-town data was released by the state confirming that about a third of Massachusetts communities, including Braintree, had rising coronavirus test rates. The past few weeks, Braintree has seen a slight increase in the data as the town has moved to a 1.62% positive test rate. Neighboring towns have seen similar positive test rates, with Holbrook at 1.83%, Milton at 0.94%, Quincy at 1.43%, and Weymouth at 2.64%. All of which have seen a slight decrease in positive test rates in the last 7 days. Randolph has also seen an increase in positive test rates, with their weekly percentage rising to 2.80% this week. Braintree is still considered a yellow community, a designation given to cities and towns that average 4 to 8 cases per 100,000 people daily. With Halloween just a week away, Mayor Kokoris and the town of Braintree have announced that they will be celebrating Halloween this year with door-to-door trick-or-treating on Saturday, October 31st from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. When trick-or-treating, Braintree has asked everyone to follow the CDC guidelines and wear a mask, keep 6 feet distance from others, and please refrain from eating candy until you get home. For more information and guidelines for trick-or-treaters and for handing out candy, please visit Braintree Town Hall's website at braintreema.gov. You can also call the Braintree Health Department at 781-794-8090. Also this week, the town of Braintree and the Norfolk County Sheriff's Office have teamed up to provide a remote learning center for students. The center will host up to 10 students per day and allows parents the opportunity to drop their child off in a supervised learning location. At the center, they will provide free Wi-Fi connection, organize activities during breaks, and regular cleaning and sanitizing. Children who attend will also be able to take part in an after-school adventure program that focuses on team building and rope-based activities. Here's more from their press conference on October 22nd.
We've also seen the toll it's taken on our children and their social and emotional well-being. And knowing that a lot of parents out there are hurting and there's great stress on every family about what to do during the school week, we came up with this idea to take the equipment that we have, take the teachers that we have, and broaden that curriculum to have a great leadership academy that can supplement the school week. So for example, if a student is in school Monday through Thursday, but they don't have something to do on Friday, and mom or dad or grandparents can't be there, they can sign up for this Leadership Academy where they will have an academic component, but they'll also have some much needed recreational time. And again, that's self-esteem and awareness, and it'll also be some good fun too on the ropes course. It's low cost, it's only $35 a day, and if there's any financial hardship, we can grant waivers. And at this time, we've reached out to every superintendent in Norfolk County. We think that this program will grow. Already, I think we have a dozen people signed up for next week. And we're hoping that this can help families across Norfolk County and most importantly, help our kids.
But I think Jerry has created a program that's going to help fill some of the gaps for many families out there. So I commend him for putting this together. It wasn't my idea, it was definitely his idea, and I thank him for that. So we've always had a great partnership here. If you look at this facility, it's a beautiful facility, and the Sheriff's Department has maintained it over the years, and Jerry's continued to do that. So we're looking forward to giving our students the opportunity and the parents the opportunity to get their students to this academy so that they can get the education they need and also have the social interaction they need as well, and they're not able to get while sitting at home in front of their computer.
District 4 Councilor Stephen O'Brien made a proposal to remove District 1 Town Councilor Julia Flaherty from her position as the chair of Braintree's Elder Affairs and Veteran Services Committee over a Facebook comment she had made stemming from a post by school committee member Kelly Cobb-Lemire. O'Brien believes the post belittled veterans, but Town Council President Shannon Hume ruled that O'Brien's motion was out of order because he made it under a proposed council rule that is still under review. O'Brien asked if he could withdraw the motion without prejudice, meaning he can bring it back before the council at a later date. Flaherty apologized again at Tuesday night's council meeting and during an interview with The Patch earlier this month, where she said, quote, "For my part, I think that the work of the committee is something the whole committee owes to veterans. Only now I think I owe it a little bit more," end quote. On another note, school committee and town council met this past week with some discussion of possible full remote learning updates. Here's Petra Lynch with more on what they discussed.
School committee met earlier this week on October 19th and continued their discussion on school reopening, which included an update on the BHS transition to hybrid learning, challenges, learnings, and adjustments, and planning for a full return. Assistant Superintendent James Lee provided an update on the transition for BHS students to hybrid learning during the week of Tuesday, October 13th. He explained that 9th graders from Cohort A came in the morning, while 9th graders from Cohort B came in the afternoon, who all received an in-person orientation and introduction to staff at school. He also explained that around 250 BHS seniors were able to take the SAT, and the athletic teams have been able to continue their seasons, along with clubs and organizations being able to remotely meet. Assistant Superintendent James Lee also explained some of the challenges, learnings, and adjustments after observations, which included increasing grade 5 hybrid synchronous instruction by moving full remote students, particularly from Liberty and Highlands, to the East District program, which would provide more synchronous opportunities for students on remote days. Adjusting the amount of full remote sections for grades 7 and 8 in order to allow teachers to manage teaching loads more effectively and provide more direct instruction to students when they can, and place a moratorium on movement between hybrid and remote learning to prepare for the future, which is to transition back into full in-person learning. Finally, Superintendent Dr. Frank Hackett shared with the committee the plans for a return to full in-person learning, the target date being Monday, January 4th, 2021, for grades K through 12. Dr. Frank Hackett further explained that the goal is to transition back into in-person learning by doing additional testing, working with the Board of Health in the town, and looking at data from past experiences. He also explained that throughout this process, they will have to be mindful of certain things, which includes its impact on the full remote student program, how the increase of in-person learning will affect synchronous time, and if any other changes need to be made in order to support the goal of a full return. Town Council also met this week on Tuesday, October 20th, and went over various topics such as a request for gas installation to 86 Hancock Street and the request for appropriation of funds for the Smelt Brook Culvert and Fisheries Habitat Restoration. The Council discussed the request for gas installation to 86 Hancock Street. The property will be an electrical contracting business known as Integrated Electrical Systems Incorporated that is relocating its current offices and warehouse from Quincy to Braintree. Company President Chris Sidoti plans on renovating the facility and was hoping to upgrade the heating system to gas heat. However, the facility does not have a gas connection, and he would have to dig up a portion of the street in order to be connected. He was told by National Grid that he would need to come before the town council and petition because the street had already been done over not too long ago. Some of the council members did have concerns because the roadway was recently paved in 2019 and was still under a moratorium. However, other members were in support of the petition as long as the owner followed the conditions set by the council. The voting ended with 6 in favor and 2 opposed. There was also a discussion about the request for appropriation for the Smelt Brook Culvert and Fisheries Habitat Restoration. As District 5 Councilor Meredith Barrica briefly explained, the towns of Braintree and Weymouth were collaborating to rehabilitate the brook, which runs through Weymouth Landing. The rehabilitation is one part of a multi-year plan to improve the town's environment and recreational resources. The town of Weymouth will be contributing 60% of funding to the project, and after the council voted with 8 in favor of the request for appropriation, the remaining 40% will be contributed by Braintree from the town's Community Preservation Act open space funds.
Thanks, Petra. Stay tuned for more on Braintree Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Braintree. Early voting for the November 3rd general election in Braintree started last weekend on Saturday, October 17th, and will continue through Friday, October 30th. All early voting will take place at Braintree's Town Hall Cahill Auditorium. You can find more information regarding dates and hours on the Braintree Town Hall website at braintreema.gov. On Saturday night this past week, 2 men were robbed during an attempted completion of an online transaction at a Braintree hotel. Police said in a news release 2 men were robbed before the sale was completed at the Hyatt Place Hotel around 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 17th. The victims told police that a vehicle with 3 men inside entered the back parking lot of the hotel. 2 men got out of the car and then proceeded to rob them and pistol whip them before leaving with several items taken from the victims. The victims then followed the vehicle onto I-93 North and told police one of the suspects leaned out of the window and fired a gun at the victim's vehicle. Both victims suffered minor injuries but declined to be taken to a hospital. The suspect's vehicle was later recovered in Boston, and the incident is still currently remains under investigation by Braintree Police. Braintree officers helped Holbrook Police and DEA agents in a massive drug bust on October 15th. Randy Carvajal, 27, and Elizabeth Valentine, 44, were charged with trafficking fentanyl and cocaine and possession of a Class E drug. Police said they have arrested 2 Holbrook residents and seized 201 grams of fentanyl, 67.5 grams of cocaine, 48 clozapine pills, and nearly $2,000 in cash. Both Carvajal and Valentine are expected to be arraigned in Quincy District Court. This past week, the Braintree Chamber of Commerce hosted a debate for the 5th Norfolk District Representative candidates. The debate, which took place on Thursday, October 15th, between State Representative Mark Cusack and Republican challenger Frank Collins, revealed that the candidates disagreed on a few key issues, including their coronavirus response, schools, and racial inequality. Chair of the Braintree Chamber, Kimberly Crowa, asked the candidates how they hope to improve racial equality and protect our communities from racial discrimination. Here's more from their response.
I don't believe that we need any state intervention with anything. Braintree's always been a welcoming community that's embraced all walks of life. At age 6 years old, I had my tonsils out, okay? And there was a gentleman that lived across the street from us, worked at the Braintree post office. As a young boy, when I came home recovering from having my tonsils out, he came over with ice cream. It was the first time I had met a person of color. He was such a kind and caring man. I didn't view him as any differently, but as a friend and neighbor. We need to get back to taking care of our friends and neighbors and finding common ground as to show how we can bring our community together and move it forward. My good friend and commanding officer, Sergeant Major Fred Douglas, whom I served with in the United States Marine Corps, was my mentor. He was tragically killed in the Beirut bombing in 1983. He was my comrade brother. We were very, very close. I have worked with all nationalities, people of color and race, okay? And I know that we can work this whole thing out. I have knocked on thousands of doors. I can tell you that my love for Braintree and its people have grown even more. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Cusack.
Thank you. The question about state intervention, I don't view it as state intervention, but the state obviously is part of the solution here. And I'm proud of the record on this. And what we're doing is you need to provide equal opportunity, whether it's an economic development bill, an education bill, like when we passed the Student Opportunity Act, that every child in the Commonwealth deserves equal access to an equal education regardless of where they live. So from a state perspective, with racial equality, it's really about providing equal opportunity, and that pervades in every policy area we do. For example, when I was chairman of the marijuana committee, writing the marijuana law, we made sure that there were provisions in there to make sure that everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, or economic condition, was able to participate in this new industry. So from the state perspective, it's making sure that whatever we're doing is making sure that it's equal and accessible to people of all races. And that's where the state comes in on this. In Braintree, I abhor racism. There's no place in Braintree, the Commonwealth of the country, but we can always do better. But going forward as a state representative, what I can affect directly is the opportunity piece to make sure that we are improving quality of life and opportunities for people, that they are equal and have equal opportunity. So that's what we've been focused on from the state. Thank you.
With debate season upon us, on Thursday, October 22nd, the second and final presidential debate took place between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Squaring off in Nashville, Tennessee, the two discussed a number of topics, including COVID-19, foreign policy, and the economy, amongst other topics. Kristen Welker of NBC News was the moderator for the final debate, to which many gave overwhelming positive reviews for her performance and timing. Millions of Americans have already voted prior to this debate, but if you still haven't, there are still opportunities for early voting or to vote on November 3rd. On another note, on Sunday, October 18th, two opposing political protests turned hostile in Boston's Copley Square. Steel barricades separated Trump supporters and the counter-protesters along Dartmouth Street. Rally-goers from the group responsible for previously organizing the controversial Straight Pride Parade, named the Super Happy Fun America, were seen waving Trump-Pence flags and are calling for an end to what they call democratic violence. The group was visibly outnumbered by counter-protesters that took to the streets in frustration. It took an aggressive turn when a small group from the counter-protesters began lighting up a Blue Lives Matter flag, along with a cardboard cutout of President Trump, followed by a screaming match between both sides. Boston police officers in riot gear could be seen on the ground making sure tensions didn't escalate. One individual said she showed up calling for peace, not violence, and said, quote, "I'm feeling really angered, but also very sad," end quote. This week, the Lombardo family announced that they will be hosting the annual Giving Thanks celebration again this year. This event is a free Thanksgiving dinner for seniors. Unfortunately, social distancing and occupancy limits brought on by COVID-19 have changed Lombardo's 50-year tradition. The holiday dinner this year will be delivered by or picked up at various local community centers on Wednesday, November 25th. Lombardo's has launched a fundraiser to help pay for the Thanksgiving meals. Locals can help by donating by writing a check directly to David Lombardo, or you can find out more information on Lombardo's Facebook page. In other news, this year, the New England Wildlife Center's 18th annual Night of 1,000 Faces will be going virtual. This year, the Night of 1,000 Faces will feature the mystery of the owl and the pumpkin, and will include theft, a pumpkin pie fight, dirt bike mishaps, owls, crashing cars, snakes, Fred the Skeleton, and the devil. All that along with learning a thing or two about animals and nature. A Night of 1,000 Faces will be live streaming on New England Wildlife Center's Facebook page and Jeff Corwin's Facebook page on Friday, October 23rd, and replayed on Saturday, October 24th, starting at 8 p.m. Thank you for watching Braintree Today. We'll be right back with more in sports and entertainment. Welcome back to Braintree Today. Here's Mike Wassel with the latest on Braintree sports.
Braintree and Milton in boys soccer, and a chance early in the game, and it goes off the post as the game remains scoreless, as Braintree looking for the opening strike here, but again denied as Nime is stopped on a partial break-in, and Milton now looking for the game's first goal, and they get a kind bounce in front as that one hits off the hands of McCloskey, bounces in front, and they score. And then Kelly with the big save in goal to keep it a 1-0 deficit, as Braintree looking to get on the board here, but they are stopped by the Milton keeper as Braintree looking for one here in the fourth quarter, not able to score on a restart. And then another chance. This time it's Nime, and he will pocket it home as he scores and ties the game late in the fourth quarter. And that is the way the game came to a close, a 1-1 tie with Milton. Girls soccer, Braintree and Walpole. And it is the Womps with an early chance here. And they are denied on a nice passing play. And then Braintree in the third quarter looking to break in front. They get a kind carom, and it bounces in off of a Braintree player as nearly able to score for Braintree. As you watch it a second time, you had to see it. It deflects off the Braintree offensive player and then into the back of the net for the goal. Braintree leads 1-0, and then Walpole trying to get one late. They are denied on a great stop in goal by Hemmert, and then a second chance in as many minutes as that one just goes wide, and it remains a 1-0 Braintree lead. But then a big call in this one as this one hits a Braintree hand inside the box, results in a penalty kick late, and it is Walpole able to just get it by the outstretched hand of Hemmert, and they tie it at 1. And then Braintree hoping to get a breakaway, but offside is called, and the game ends in a 1-1 tie. Field hockey now, Braintree and Walpole, and Braintree is down on the scoreboard 1-0 as Walpole gets an early strike here in the first quarter, and then they add an insurance goal as they're able to get it on the doorstep again to go ahead 2-0. You think that Walpole's going to run away with this one the way it started, but Braintree not shying away from it, and they get a goal here in the second quarter to cut the lead in half. It's 2-1, and Braintree actually probably had more scoring chances in this game than Walpole did, and they have a breakaway here to tie it, and they are denied as Lee is stopped on the breakaway attempt. And then Walpole here in the third quarter hoping for an insurance goal as the Braintree defense not able to stop it, and it gets through, and it's a 3-1 lead for Walpole, and Braintree looking to add and try and get back into this game, but they are stopped twice in front on the same sequence. And then here on the doorstep, the shot goes just wide of the post here in the fourth quarter, and Braintree can't get any closer as they drop this one to Walpole and drop to 500 with a 3-1 loss to Walpole.
Thanks, Mike. Now I'm joined by Petra Lynch for What's New in Entertainment. What's happening this week, Petra?
There's lots of interesting movies and TV shows to watch this week with the release of a new Netflix film based off of a novel from the 1930s, a Netflix animated film the whole family can enjoy, and an original Netflix series set in the Cold War era as it follows a chess prodigy. Based on the 1938 Gothic novel of the same name by Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca is a new Netflix film starring Lily James, Armie Hammer, and Kristen Scott Thomas. The film follows a young newlywed as she arrives at her husband's imposing English estate on the coast and finds herself confronted by the shadow of his first wife, Rebecca, whose legacy lives on in the house long after her death. The film is also being screened in select theaters. Also new to Netflix is Over the Moon, an animated adventure that follows a bright young girl fueled with determination and a passion for science as she builds a rocket ship to the moon to prove that the legendary Chinese moon goddess does exist. This leads her on an unexpected quest as she discovers a mystical land of fantastical creatures. Then check out Netflix's newest original series, The Queen's Gambit, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and based on the 1983 novel of the same name. This drama series follows the life of orphan chess prodigy Beth Harmon, from adolescence to adulthood during the Cold War era as she struggles with addiction in her journey to become a grandmaster in chess. And new in music this week is the release of Ariana Grande's latest single, Positions. The comeback track is the lead single from the Grammy-winning artist's highly anticipated sixth album, which she has said will arrive on October 30th. The song is also accompanied by a music video that features the singer as the United States president that shows her holding cabinet meetings and press conferences while also walking her dogs on the White House property. Even though the artist had recently collaborated with Lady Gaga for Rain on Me and Justin Bieber for Stick With You, this is Ariana Grande's first solo release since her record-breaking 2019 album, Thank You Next. The single can now be streamed on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music, and the accompanying music video can be watched on Ariana Grande's official YouTube channel.
Thanks, Petra. I'm really looking forward to catching up on those films. Thank you for watching Braintree Today. That was Petra Lynch, and I'm Martha Constantinides. That's all we have for news this week. See you next time.